So my name is Chris Visser. I have had a spotty past with everything down to identity theft and fraud, dealing in stolen property, aggravated assault with deadly weapon, various charges. I've done county, state, and federal time. My most recent being the federal. I was indicted out of the Eastern District of Tennessee for conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. It's a drug of choice for me. Always has been. It's always taken every single thing from me at the same time. I have watched the up and down because of my inability to stay sober 3 different times. And it's taken every single thing from me. Anybody that's been part of the game knows that. It doesn't leave you much for long. But I was raised by my mother, for the most part, very, very, very good woman. Sacrificed a lot for my sister and I. I have one sister, yes. She, beautiful woman, beautiful woman. I didn't have a super crazy childhood. It wasn't like, a lot of heartbreaking stories I've heard. I had a pretty good, my mother did so much to make things happen for my sister and I. And I obviously was a pain in the ass, but she sacrificed a lot, and we had a lot going for us. So it was a good childhood for the most part. The only drawback where I noticed that certain things that I was allowed to do or just kind of like was left to my own devices kind of, molded a shape of me that probably shouldn't have been. I was definitely a latchkey kid. I had, full reign of any home that we were at, for the most part, minus the security system. But so I was raised by the entities that I kind of like latched onto, rock bands and horror movies and all the gross and grotesque, dirty things of the world type of thing. And those were my fathers. Those were my idols, the ones I looked up to, the ones I wanted to idolize and emulate. So that kind of turned into me, it's my own thing, I am all important, blah, blah, blah. And this is how I raised myself in a lot of ways. My mother was so busy, bless her heart, But yeah, when it comes down to it, that's where a lot of it came from, was me just being able to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, for the most part. My mother definitely reined me in here and there. It was honestly my stepfather that kind of, did that. He jerked that chain on me, and little resentment and whatever, only because I wasn't allowed to be me. I wasn't allowed to be the little hellion I was and manipulate my mother and take advantage of a good situation. But when it came down to it, my childhood from, say, 9th to 12th grade, pretty standard, pretty easy. I still hung out with that, outlier crowd, the metalheads, gothics, whatever. And it was after that, I was 18 years old. I was 18 years old as a senior in high school, too. And so I could sign myself out. I was an adult. Nobody could tell me shit, dude. I was doing whatever I wanted to do. Just feeding into my self-God complex. I know experimentation and experiencing all that life had to offer was a huge thing for me. Huge thing. I didn't want to leave this earth. I I didn't want to leave this earth without experiencing everything that could have been. And it didn't matter what it was. Well, it mattered to a point, but you know, there wasn't a substance that I wouldn't put in me, just about, you know, uppers, downers, ones I designed with my buddies in the parking lot of a mall, you know, using fen-phen and nitroglycerin tablets from a heart patient, bro. I mean, it didn't matter. I was all about the elevated experience. I spent my whole childhood on Ritalin. It was part of it. I say whole childhood. It was like 4 or 5 years. But when I tried methamphetamine for the first time, that was the be-all, end-all for me. And ironically, I did it with my first wife for the first time. And so it was an experience kind of with somebody that, you know, had something to do significantly with my life. But it just spiraled out of control from there, and I lost all kinds of dumb stuff in the process. And then I had to relocate, all the while making excuses for everything I was doing. I had a chance to go ahead and make a good life for myself out here in downtown Orlando again. Oh, God. And then I just pissed it off, you know, traveling back into my old area, you know, to get some more ice. And that kind of led me to move back into that area. And next thing you know, one of the bigger guys, he's handing me all this marijuana and methamphetamine. He's like, here, go. I know you got the right buddies and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, sure do. And that just kind of started the power aspect for me. That was I wasn't even up yet, but I had people on my doorstep going, hey, when is Chris going to be around? Powerful people came with that. Materialistic possessions, and most of them just being, you know, laid at my feet. You know, here's this and here's that. You know, can I get a morsel? And so, more than anything, that lifestyle is what is addictive to me. I'm sure I'm not alone on that. When it came down to the spiral out of control, that would be when I noticed that I didn't have any more amenities to my name. I didn't have a place to stay. I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have anything except for whatever individual was ready for me to, you know, kind of grace their house with my presence, or, you know, me with bags and whatnot in hand, ready to go. Let's the party start for week 2. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, and that is almost more powerful than the drug itself. Yeah, it gives me tingles, just the whole, every day's a battle. So, next thing you know, I'm dealing with some guys that, you know, I was friends with all growing up. And along the way, you know, some of us would mess around with pills, or some of us would mess around with whatever. And one of ours, who his dad was connected, who was with a family associate with, you know, a well-known, you know, cartel, they made it very easy for us. Next thing you know, it's you're making jokes with an old buddy of yours about getting the hot poker treatment because you're in the hole X amount of dollars, and he literally is getting he's like telling me on the phone, you don't know what you were talking about at that moment. And he was getting the hot poker treatment. But it was all fun and games. And next thing you know, my ties with my band is gone, and you know, my first marriage and my child is gone, but I'm still up. I'm still doing what I'm doing, and so it never backtracks. It always spirals and spirals, and then like if you fall off and then you jump back on, it goes right back to the same place that you left off. I mean, it might be like a little hiatus, man, but it goes straight into it every time. So it's well known that we are dealing with soldiers, good fella types. There was a day where I was sitting there with a member of the Earnhardt family, like way removed. He's dead now, but God rest his soul, Jeff Earnhardt. A couple of well-dressed individuals, very large, very tattooed, very serious, walked in, came out after a while. We were told to leave the house regardless. They came out, they left, and my good friend and I, we talked real quick, and it was not going to be very good for another friend of ours if things didn't shape up. And so it's like, okay, so this is all fun and games, whatever. 3 days after that, I get a call from an ex-girlfriend basically stating that my buddy has been shot in the head by the other buddy that I was talking to about. He was basically put on him to make sure that his debt was taken care of. So, bullet in one temple, bullet out the other. Eyes exploded on impact. No sense of smell. Incredible individual. Still there today. So anyway, yeah, it's all fun and games until we shoot each other in the head type of thing. Now it's real. Now I realize that a lot of my identity theft and credit card theft has started to catch up with me. I've got friends, mothers calling me, "Are you with so-and-so? Are you with Chris?" No. Well, you better get away from them because they just busted in our door and they looked in the attic for him and this, and I'm like, you know, one side of me is going, yeah, that's cool. The other side is going, maybe I'll just put all this stuff away and I'll just go back to work at Pizza Hut or whatever. It just continues on. There is no break whatsoever. It is everything for the party. And then all of a sudden comes the sleep deprivation, the mistakes, the dumbass words, the forgetfulness, the whole thing. Mistakes are made. You know, you let a tattoo get seen by a camera. Yeah, you name it. Anyway, so the arrests come, petty stuff, you know, little stuff. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're being hit with multiple charges for dealing in stolen property and this and that. So I did some state time over some county time as well. But when it came down to it, I identified the fact that I was a methamphetamine user, abuser, peddler, whatever, it didn't register to me. It did to a point. I knew, you know what? When I get out of prison, I'm not going to touch dope anymore. I'm going to do all this other stuff, you know, all my little other triggers and such. But when it comes to meth, I'm just not going to touch that anymore. That's off limits. So everything goes well for a while. I'm basically, I would say probably 6 years out of state prison. Everything's going great. I had 2 more beautiful children, and things were going well. I had a business that I ran of my own, and my band was back together. We were releasing an album. All these good things were going on, and so a wrench got put in the system. I moved the whole family out to Idaho, Jackson Hole, that area, and it was awesome. I couldn't handle the cold. I came back down here. Next thing you know, I'm dealing methamphetamine with the cartel again. And so now it's a little bit more of, I'm seeing how some of the cash is being distributed. I'm seeing how some of the travel flows are going. I'm seeing how some of the product is being made and in what kind of quantity. You've never seen so much crystal blue ice as in the trunk of a Mercedes-Benz in 2 large yard plastic trash bags, just full of this substance. It's just unreal. So I was clean for 6 years, down there for less than 2 months, and here I am. And I called my local church. I said, get me out of here now, quick. So I left, and for about 3 years, I realized that was close. That was super close. Everything was going well for a while, and then it became where my wife and I, ex-wife and I, we split up. We were having some serious problems. And I used that. I used that sadness. I used that grief. I used that position in life that somebody forced me into to be the excuse for me to start using crystal again. And from there, it wasn't just, okay, I'm using it here. From there, it was, who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Playing the cop thing. Oh, this guy's a police officer. No, this chick's a cop. She's hot. Blah. Listen, when it all comes down to it, every single one of those people will tell you, they'll do it. They'll do it. Those people, you know the ones. You know the ones. Anyway, so I'm associating around a lot of these guys, myself being clowned. I'm a clown, the whole damn fucking story. It's the same thing front to back as every other story. You get something, you get the power, you lose it all, next thing you know, you're dead in jail, whatever the freaking cliche might be. So I'm hanging out with the Vice Lords. I'm sitting here getting stuff from freaking downtown Atlanta. I mean, we have boss lady. She freaking comes under money, like 200 grand because her stepson stabbed him in the heart right there in the front yard. I'm at work. I get a text message. Well, he did it now. He stabbed him. He killed him. He's dead on the ground now. I'm like, I'm waiting tables. What, can we talk about this? So I go over there the next day, and yeah, so she's got all this insurance money, vehicles to everybody that's doing right in her game, you know, putting them on. And then when it came down to it, it was just a mule service. I mean, there was just so much stuff going on. And my initial role was nothing more than, you know, a nice quiet on my door, because I had the vehicle, I had the job, I had everything going for me, the nice quiet house in the nice rural area. But I didn't have a bunch of riffraff and stuff at my door. Couldn't have it. So she would come out, we'd hang out, she'd blast me off, man. I mean, it was a give and take relationship. It was 100% understood that, you know, I got this, you got that, what are we doing? From there, it turned into, I was pretty much given a Dodge Charger to just take care of her business all throughout the day, which was it was interesting. Some of the chores and tasks I had to take care of, you know. Knoxville PD about to take a guy in because he's got a balloon of methamphetamine up his butt because he just can't seem to calm down. That thing is wide open. It's just feeding him dope all through his butt. And the cops are just like, this guy's fucked up. He is so fucked up, but you got to get him out of here. He hasn't broken any law yet, but if we let you guys out of our sight, it's bound to happen. So I put my chick at that time, I put her in a car, I took the Mustang, she took him, I took the rest of his family right behind that, and I'm just like on the phone with her the whole time. I'm like, what is he doing? He looks so sketched. I mean, that's one of several dumb little stories, but yeah, so there was a time where it was starting to feel like maybe the pressure was starting to get in close, a little bit too close. Boss lady decided she was going to move somebody in. But what she doesn't know is that, well, no. She does know, but she's not thinking anything about it. This guy used to be a CI. This guy is here shooting up methamphetamine, showing us pictures of how he was on a SWAT vehicle. Yeah, there's all kinds of things wrong with that. So this guy's a CI. He's whatever, crooked. I mean, whatever. I don't give a shit. So she brings this dude over to my house. I mean, she took this Dodge Charger I had and made it look like a freaking undercover unit. So I see this stuff in my video monitor in my master suite, and I'm like, holy shit. So I go out the back way trying to see what's up. Nobody there. Out the front, I go inside. She's already in my bathroom, hanging out like within a matter of 45 seconds. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm just standing back. I'm like, looking at her, knowing I trust her, but what the fuck? So one of the first questions he asked me is, have you ever gotten high with a cop? And I'm just like, spidey senses are going off, and I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm turned to her, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Y'all got to explain this. And apparently the guy was, wow, this and that. Long story short, they were out of my place within 30 seconds, and I was letting her know that she is making such a cardinal, like what cops play dope dealers that play cops pretending to be dope dealers. Like, I found them, and I told her, you're standing in front of it. This is the most ignorant. Anyway, so he moved into the house. He brought a freaking undercover trailer into the front fucking yard, talking about how it was just his place to stay, even though the decals were off the side of it, like Knox County freaking surveillance, blah, blah. I'm like, y'all are stupid. Okay, so she's out on 3 different bonds. She gets one more, but they abolish all of it all of a sudden. So she's inside. I'm taking care of her house, trying to find out more and more about these fucks that are around my freaking boss lady's house. And needless to say, I was indicted by the DEA in 2015 with 39 other individuals for conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. There were many counts on there. A lot of it was money laundering. There was a lot of firearms. There were the feds have this bullshit ass thing where they make you sign for ghost weight. I know if you know what I'm talking about. So this thing is like, yeah, it's a book with 39 people on it, and you're just looking at it. You're looking at the United States of America versus Christopher W. Visser, and you're like, whoa, this is serious. I mean, the whole process from front to back is intimidating as hell anyway. Come to find out, when they came and got me, I'm watching Jefferson County PD. I'm watching 3 vehicles. I've watched around my house for the last 2 months, driving up the freaking road, down the road. Just thought they were new neighbors, whatever. You know, it's a big area side of the mountain. Who's going to guess? So, and I really wasn't sitting there thinking I was doing a whole lot of much of anything anyway. I was ignorant. I was blind. I didn't pay attention to what I should have. The party wasn't as loose as it had been at that point in time, but was I pulling cat burglaries? Yeah, I was pulling cat burglaries. Was I doing stupid stuff like, putting stuff in my name? I possibly did it a couple of times. I might have done some things, but I felt like at the whole time I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, still kept my job. It wasn't towards the end, like the last month where everything just went haywire. I couldn't even make it to my daughter's Sweet 16 party on time because I couldn't get myself coordinated with a rental car, with a credit card, and with everything else I was doing at the same time. So, yeah, mistakes. There's a lot of mistakes that are made, man, when you're riding like that. God, most of the mistakes are obvious ones. Most of the mistakes are the stuff you tell yourself, watch out for this. Oh, man, something's up if you catch this, or, just all the things you tell yourself to watch out for, man. You're not going to stop that party. You're not going to let something in the way of what you've got feeding you. I mean, it's such an on fire feeling, dude, that you're in a clutch. Unfortunately, so many more people end up experiencing it than, you'd ever want. But I've always believed that people have to make their own mistakes. they can't live by mine. I know the DEA made a super believer out of me as to how crooked they could, I mean, how well they move around people and how they'll get people to try to speak against you and, you know, the whatever manipulations. I mean, they're just doing their job, right? You know? But when it all comes down, it's always me. It's always me. I'm the one that winds up doing every single thing that I'm not supposed to be doing. I'm the one that tells myself little bullshit things about how I can get high because it's just one time. I can get high because, you know, I'm behind in work. You know, I had a psychiatrist just recently tell me that because I was on Ritalin, you know, the chemical properties of amphetamines and methamphetamines, they kind of like speak to my physiology or some shit like that. Whatever. I mean, it just felt good. You know, I was there for the hyper productivity. I was there for the hypersexuality. I was there for the party. I was there because people wanted me. They wanted me. They needed me, you know. And that was what I identified with. That's how I identified myself, was how much my phone would go off that night, or, you know, how many places I was invited in one day. You know, that's kind of what ran everything. But in that process, it wound up being, so I destroyed 2 marriages. I became estranged from 3 of my children, all of my children right there. All these things, you know, it's just like, yeah, the party. Okay, so you got that little wake of damage there. And, you know, I've lost, you know, the house, the cars, the vehicle, whatever. And time, dude, time, that freedom, that freedom that you lose. I've done just over 7 years of my life behind bars. Ironically, none of it was done before I was 29. None of it was done before I touched meth. Every day is tough, and it's not everybody else. I mean, drugs work on everybody certain ways, but they all work on people the same way too. I feel. You know, while amphetamines, you might get a good night's sleep, might be tough to wake up the next day, but you know, you enjoyed it, you know, and then you got off of it sometimes. If you wanted to continue on, whatever the reason was, oh, I can't wake up, oh, it's Friday, but whatever the reasons, you know, and then you sit there and say, oh, well, it's not like opiates, you know, but it's just one of those things, man, where you make excuses. I make excuses, you know, every day is a struggle. I've lapsed. I did the RDAP program in the federal prison. And if anybody's gone through that, you know what a pain in the, it can be a pain in the ass, man. But it's one of those cognitive, you know, reconditioning deals. But I mean, you get some pretty decent stuff out of it, but like, it's a lot of repetition and such. And you know, I thought for sure, and a lot of people will tell you, oh man, yeah, some of that art, yeah, I'm gonna be just fine because I got my tools, man. I got my tools. But not even that, you know, stopped me from wanting to get the taste out of my mouth, I guess you could say. I'm not a fan of it whatsoever. I'm not a fan of the demon that's in me that tries to sell me on, you know, oh, dude's got some great stuff. Let's just get a ball and what? So it's tough sometimes. It really is. It was the day that I was told I didn't love my kids more than dope. When I was told that I didn't love my kids more than dope, that was tough. That was tough. I became aware of unrealistic and realistic expectations when it comes to certain things. Like, I thought when I got out of the joint, I'd be able to come home and, the kids, oh, baby, hey, how are you? Barbecue, what's up? No dope. I figured that's kind of how it was going to be, man, but it was nothing like that. Like, I went out and flew and saw my kids one time, and then after that, it was almost like a abandonment, from anything, involving whatever's going on. But I know they're happy, I know they're healthy. I've got ways of finding out a little bit, but it's you got to trust that everything's just a season. I know there's a lot of people out there that kind of do what I did, where the excuses, the reasons, the justifications, and I've seen, a lot of people close to me, just throw their hands up, well, what? I'm just gonna blah, blah, blah. I've done it myself so many times. I've realized that's one of the times, that's my main moment where I give myself the permission to use and justify it, I'll always make sure that I try to keep my triggers under control. But now and then it becomes very obvious, and you realize I am an addict.